This is Nero Knowledge, a 21-year-old esoteric coach that generates more than $450,000 through his coaching offer. And I spent the last 37 hours investigating his entire business. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the exact top of funnel strategy that he uses to target less aware market and send them to his core platform, which is YouTube, as well as how he's able to create high returning audience on YouTube, which constantly watch every single post that he uploads. Then we're going to get into his YouTube funnel, which is absolutely genius because he is able to build a cult like following, people who absolutely love him and will watch every single video that he uploads, and how he is able to go from 3k to 399k subscribers on YouTube in 624 days, which is unheard of, as well as how he's able to get pre-sold leads directly through YouTube so that he doesn't even need to do any of the selling himself. Then we're going to dive deep into his conversion mechanism, and I'm going to be talking about the negative selling that he uses to build absolute authority, as well as the extreme ICB qualification that allows him to charge 50k for his one-on-one coaching that very few people will ever be able to do. As well as we are going to talk about the profit maximization techniques that he's using to actually build a business that is able to generate $450,000 and constantly growing. And I'm going to be talking about a secret offer. He never sells it, but is responsible for adding 25% additional revenue to his entire info business, as well as how he's able to charge 50k for his coaching offer and create such a high lifetime value per client, and the vertical versus horizontal scaling technique, and how Nero uses this and understands this to grow his business. And the only reason I am able to get such a deep understanding of all of this is because I've used the same techniques and strategies to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is for one of my clients for one of the offers, and as you can see, we generated $220,000. And this is a full stack marketing and sales systems that I run for coaches, consultants, info product owners. If you're one, you can check out the description below. But let's get into it because I have so much to talk about and you're in for a treat. So excited for you. Let's get into it. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is his top of funnel strategy. So first, we have the main platforms that he uses for his top of funnel are of course TikTok and Instagram. So as you will see that on his Instagram, we have, posts which are basically just clips that he's posting from YouTube. And so these are taken from his YouTube long form videos, and the best bits are clipped and posted on his short form content. And as you can see, he's getting 10k views on average, which is pretty good for, education content. As well as basically TikTok, he's using the same strategy. But what is this doing is that he's posting 2 times a day clips from his YouTube videos and funnels all of this traffic to his core platform, which is of course YouTube, where he's of course doing all the selling, he's building the authority, providing all the education stuff. This is only top of funnel, which basically means that this is only to attract as many eyeballs as possible. So indirectly and through CTAs on IG stories, he send them to the core platform, which is of course YouTube. Apart from that, he also has one more thing that sets him apart, which is that you will see below his YouTube videos in the description, he also promotes his book. So he has a book called Outsmarting Reality. As you can see, this book has more than 1222 reviews on Amazon, and a lot of people are buying this. But what exactly is he trying to achieve with this? So for people who are not quite ready or can't afford his coaching, because as I told you, his coaching offer is literally 50k. So most of his audience doesn't qualify to work directly one-on-one with him. So what he does with his book is that he builds enough trust and credibility that anyone who financially qualifies has a high chance of investing into his high ticket offer. So YouTube is where he's constantly providing them value. He's constantly, sharing his original audience. And I'm going to get deep into his YouTube, how exactly he does this, how exactly he's able to build such trust and likability with his audience. But you need to understand that, what he's doing is that then he's built enough trust and credibility with his audience that they will buy anything that they can financially, of course, qualify for. So that's why it serves as an entry point for Nero Knowledge's offer letter. So as you can see, his offer letter looks something like this, which is that he has his book, which is literally just $35, everyone can afford it. And then he has this hidden secret offer that, you can't really just go directly to this, but I'm going to dive deep into this and how he uses that to add an additional 25% revenue. And then of course he uses the 101 coaching, which is 50K, to work with very extremely qualified ICP. So over here, he's using the principle of commitment and consistency. You need to understand that, when someone buys an offer, which is literally can be $1, $2, or in this case, a $35 book from Nero Knowledge, what now happens is that they're comfortable giving Nero their money. And that is something that is very important, because eventually when they do climb the ladder and get in a position where they might be qualified for this middle of funnel offer or the 101 coaching offer, then they will be more comfortable paying Nero because they've already committed and because they need to be consistent with themselves. And so he uses this psychological technique to sell them on an offer which is literally $35 offer, but it acts as the entry point and captures all portion of his audience, build that trust, build that likability, so that eventually they will climb the ladder and will be more comfortable paying Nero their money. And so how exactly he is able to sell this 101 coaching offer for 50K, which of course is his main offer, which brings most of the revenue that I talked about. So that of course is done through his YouTube funnel. So let's dive deep into his YouTube funnel, which is extremely simple, but at the same time it's extremely sophisticated. So you need to understand this. So as you can see, this is Nero Knowledge's YouTube channel, and he has 399K subscribers, 445 videos posted. And you'll notice something, which is that all of his videos are literally him talking to the camera with a whiteboard in the background, and almost all of these videos are at least hour long. So 57 minutes, 58 minutes, 1 hour 7 minutes, 1 hour 2 minutes. On average, these are 1 hour long videos and totally educational videos which are getting 50K, 55K, 54K, even upwards of 100K views from his audience, and he's posting every single week. So how he's able to do this? So first of all, you need to understand that the reason this is so important for selling his 50K coaching offer is because of the 7-11-4 rule that Google talks about. So in a research, Google found out that, on average, people who need to purchase something from, a brand, a personal brand, they need at least 7 hours of content consumed, 11 different touch points, and 4 different platforms. So what this means is that, this YouTube funnel does it so easily for him, because his average video is literally 1 hour long, which means that anybody who watches, 5, 6, 7 videos from this, 6, 7 videos from his Nero Knowledge is able to basically, build that trust and likability. And then of course, he is able to create 11 different touch points because he's constantly, consistently posting. He doesn't just post once a month, he's posting literally every single week, as well as on 4 different platforms. So as I talked about, he's posting on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube is his main strategy, and then of course he also has his book. So that's 4 different platforms for his audience. But the main purpose of the content, any content that you're posting on YouTube, is these 3 things, and Nero's content does this very well. So the first thing, that it must build trust and likability with your audience. So they need to trust you, they need to like you, there should be a match of values, because otherwise, no matter how good is the stuff that you're talking about, if your audience doesn't trust you, they're not going to buy from you. The second thing is you must shift beliefs, because of course Nero understands this very well because this is entire niche. However, you also need to understand that if you don't shift belief, your audience might be in a completely different reality than you. They don't believe the same things, they have completely different worldview, and that will become a big obstacle in their buying decision. As well as the third thing, which is establishing authority. So of course, he's standing in front of a whiteboard. It looks like a university session, and as you can see, he is using these high level, very niche terms and language, as well as 1 hour long videos, which just tells that he knows his stuff, and that establishes authority. But how is he able to then use all of this and actually does this through his content and build a cult-like following. This is a very important because his audience is literally cult-like following. Because you can see that the only reason why his views are so consistent, why he's able to generate 50,000 views at least on almost all of his videos, is because of the simple reason that his audience keeps coming back and they watch every single thing that he posts, as well as they are constantly talking about him, posting about him, and he's attracting all of these people who really match the same worldview and ideas that Nero holds. So the first thing is something called the law of familiarity. And what this means is exactly, you are most likely to take the same path every time you go to, your office or school or wherever you go to, right? Similarly, you are much more safe and you're much more at peace when you are in familiar environments or around familiar faces. And that's the law of familiarity. And Nero understands this well. And that's the reason why he uses brand consistency, first of all. So you can see that he has the same outfit, the same environment, as well as the same mood and overall, the vibe of these videos. So he, as you can see, is in his tank top and a bandana, and he's wearing shades although he's indoors, as well as he has the same whiteboard, the same white background, and that builds familiarity. That's basically playing to the law of familiarity and making the audience feel at rest, like they know what's supposed to be happening. The second thing is unique terminology. So he has terminology, terms, phrases, as well as references that he uses that his audience understands very well. And sometimes it's something that a completely new viewer might not understand, and that brings a community. That brings, once again, the law of familiarity, which is that his audience really understands what he's talking about. Then he also, and this is extremely important because most of the coaches mess this up, is that he knows his ICP inside out. So what are their pain, what are their desires, what are the obstacles they're going through, etc. Everything about his audience, about his ICP, he understands it very well. And that's why when he speaks, it seems like he's speaking directly to you. It seems like he knows exactly what's going through your brain. It seems like he can articulate your own thoughts, your own emotions better than you. And when that happens, that just, builds such a deep level of trust and likability that your audience is not leaving. As well as the fourth thing, which is he teaches fundamentals and principles instead of tactics, because you need to understand that tactics are time bound. They are relevant today and not relevant tomorrow. But the reason why Nero is able to do this for 624 days and constantly grow, month after month, is because he's focusing on teaching the fundamentals. And that's why you can watch a year-old video from Nero and it will have the same effect, because once again, he talks about 101 and fundamentals. The second thing is extremely important, which is he is able to build personal connection and authenticity. And because of his personal connection and authenticity that he shows in his videos, and the way he does this, which I'm going to talk about, is extremely unique. So first of all, he has minimal editing and absolutely no cuts in his videos. And he jokes around, sings in between his videos, and has a sense of humor. He doesn't take himself too seriously. And that is something I miss from so many people who are making educational videos, coaches, consultants, which is that they are so serious, they try to act so nonchalant and they lose all of their personality. But Nero is completely different. He is singing in between his videos while he's wiping the whiteboard. He is anti-YouTube advice, so basically he doesn't focus as hard on retention and making sure that every single second of his videos are optimized for retention, nothing like that. Then he makes his videos intuitive like an in-person session, and this is a technique that I'm going to deep dive into because I think it is extremely important for you to understand this, because this is really what I believe plays such a fundamental role why he is able to stand out and do this year after year. Then of course, original ideas / perspective that make people see him as the source. So what you notice is he is not constantly just referencing to other people or books, but rather he is using his own perspective of things. and he's putting his own turn to those things. And because of that, his ideas seems like they're original, like they're coming from himself rather than him copying other people. And that is something that people really value. And finally, he uses the negative selling or reverse psychology techniques that establishes him as the ultimate authority, but also allows him to really focus on educating rather than selling, which so many coaches struggle with, because they're constantly hard selling and pushy, and they don't like it. So how he does this is, first of all, he builds authority by downselling himself and coming off as humble. He is not taking credit, but rather giving credit to the viewer, right? But he pairs it with this specific technique that I was talking about, the way he makes his videos extremely intuitive, which I'm going to deep dive into, which makes this actually work. And then he mentions his offer without hard selling or persuading, as well as he, as I said, is anti-YouTube advice. And that, adds a lot of authority to him, because he's like, that the stuff that I am talking about, it works. So if you want to stay with me. If you want to leave, you can do that too. So that is negative selling. But here's the main kicker. Here's the technique that I've never seen anybody talk about or do as well as Nero. The first is behind the scenes buddy technique, which he uses someone called AJ, who's literally sitting in the room with him. And what he does, I'm going to talk about, but he pairs it with the law of social proof. And the law of social proof, a lot of people understand it that it's testimonials, it's case studies, it's proof that what you're talking about you actually know, but he does it differently, and I'm going to talk about it. And both of these, when paired together, builds authority framing and increases his perceived value. It seems like the stuff that he's talking about, the information that he's sharing with you, is much more high value, and puts him in a position where you will just listen to him. How is he able to do that? Is basically he has AJ. So AJ is a faceless entity behind the scenes who interrupts Nero, making the video more fun and interactive. He deliberately reads positive comments and case studies in between Nero talking. And what this does is he's constantly hitting the viewer with third-person social proof, which is 10 times stronger. So rather than rather than Nero himself telling his audience why he's credible, telling his people what he's done, how he is, he has worked with 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs and does this and that, he uses AJ, who is a third person. And this AJ is reading comments from his past YouTube videos, as with case studies. He's literally verbally saying it in between his YouTube videos. And what this does is it is coming from third person. So, you need to understand this, that for example, when I say to you that, I'm a good person, and someone else comes to you and, tells you that Ryan is a very good person, it has two different effects on you. And that Nero understands and uses through AJ, through the behind the scene buddy technique. Now this increases the perceived value of the information in the video and takes off the weight from Nero to do any push marketing. And makes him once again comes off as more authentic and literally focus on educating rather than selling. It also serves as a complete cycle for nurturing his cult audience, since they're rewarded for leaving comments and engaging with his content, because people's comments are being read, and AJ is continuously reading them aloud and saying their name, as well as Nero, you'll notice this, is posting people watching his YouTube videos on his Instagram stories. And what that does is that it feeds into this cult-like following. People are being rewarded for engaging with his videos, for leaving comments, for leasing, and for literally programming their mind to have positive experience with his content, so that they can leave these comments. And you might not totally understand this right now, but this literally perception is everything. and he makes sure that he uses these techniques and these principles to build that perception. Because let's say, think about someone like Tony Robbins, right? I would argue that the reason why Tony Robbins is seen such a high authority, and people are saying that he absolutely changed his life, is little to do with the information that he's sharing. Now, the information that he's sharing is valuable for sure, right? I like Tony. But the main reason is because he has so much social proof, so many other people vouching that what he's teaching actually works. So many people, Queen of England and 8 and 9 figure entrepreneurs and athletes and sports team, all of these people telling and vouching for Tony. And what that does is that it makes you believe that really the simplest advice that Tony is giving is worth 10 times, 100 times more. And Nero is using the same technique. And it also makes the video feel more like a two-way communication rather than a boring lecture. It's not a one-way, 50-minute lecture where he's just speaking and spitting and yapping. Rather, it's more like a two-way communication, because while he's wiping the board, AJ is talking to him. And AJ serves like a voice for the viewer. He's reading out the comments. He is engaging and they're having fun. They're laughing. They're joking around. And that makes it much more enjoyable and entertaining, but still attracting the same sophisticated and high-level ICP. So you need to understand this, that with his YouTube, you'll notice that although his ICP that he's trying to sell to is entrepreneurs, he never uses that in his YouTube. And I would argue that that is the reason why he's constantly able to get 50k plus views, because he has a more broader targeting when it comes to his YouTube. But you need to understand that the reason why this works is because within his broad targeting is his dream ICP as well. He's not targeting a completely different persona, but rather a broader version, a dream follower kind of version of his ICP. Rather than the dream ICP, he's just targeting every single person who is interested in changing their lives, in spiritual stuff, in bending reality, that kind of stuff. And within that is a small section of his dream ICP. So with his YouTube funnel, he's able to attract a high intent, sophisticated buyer that is ready to act. So how does he maintain the exclusivity and make the sale absolutely effortless while encapsulating a bigger portion of his audience, which is basically this broad audience that he's targeting through his YouTube? So let's come to his conversion mechanism. So from his link in the description, he's sending people to this landing page, and this is quite a long landing page. I really didn't want it to fit it all over here, but this is the first thing that the viewer is seeing. So you can see that his offer is called Awakened Entrepreneurs. So in the name, once again, directly targeting exactly the people he want to work with, which is entrepreneurs. Then he reiterates that this offer is only for entrepreneurs. Clearly calls out the ICP. Then he, through his messaging, once again is only speaking to his exact ICP. And so many people, so many coaches get this wrong, which is that you don't really need to spell it out every single time. Your messaging tells a lot what kind of people that you're targeting. So over here, he's saying remove the internal invisible block that's been costing your business the million it should have made a long time ago while capping the potential you felt forever. Do you think this message speaks to a person who has never made $1 million, who has never, even started, in his entrepreneurial journey? No, because he doesn't want to attract that kind of person. And then once again, he very, very clearly states this is for 79 figures and builds FOMO for his ICP as well, because other 7 to 9 figures has paid him for information and but will never tell you about this. So what is exactly he's hiding? So that creates FOMO. I'm going to talk about this VSL very, very shortly, because I want to make a totally free video for you guys talking about the exact VSL strategy that you should be using, which has enabled us to generate consistent 60k months with our clients as well. But the VSL formula that Nero is using is that, first of all, it carries over the same authentic, no hard selling and negative selling techniques from YouTube. So it is literally like any other YouTube video. Now, of course, it doesn't have the same whiteboard. He's using like a Notion doc, but at the same time, he's using the same principles. And this VSL is no-cut, simple offer breakdown rather than a heavy sell, which attracts the more sophisticated, rich demographic that Nero is trying to speak to. Because it really depends what kind of people that you're trying to attract. In his specific condition, he's attracting 7 to 9 figures entrepreneurs, and 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs, they don't need heavy editing, they don't need to be sold on the actual opportunities. Speak to them extremely directly, and that is what Nero is doing over here as well. Then he keeps everything direct to the point, and even price drops, which results in extreme qualification and keeps away all tire kickers. So with this, he must be getting low volume of people that fill out the application. However, it brings highly qualified people, and it allows him to build a much more leaner business because he's cutting off literally 99% of the people who land on this landing. He's speaking to the 7 to 9 figure entrepreneur. He's telling that his offer costs 50K, and that builds extreme disqualification. Then messaging focused on selling the pain and the vehicle/unique mechanism as the solution. So that is the main talking point of this video. But through all of this, through this messaging, what he's doing, and the VSL that he has on his landing page, so what is he exactly trying to do is create exclusivity as well as using the principle of scarcity. So there are all these people going to his landing page who want to work with Nero, but he literally is denying all of them and telling them that there is a one specific kind of person who is 7 to 9 figure entrepreneur, and only they can afford me working one-on-one with them. And because of that, it creates his offer to be much more exclusive, because now his dream ICP, people he actually want to work with, know exactly that his offer is only specifically made for them, and that is much more attractive to any person. Anything that is more exclusive to us is more attractive to us. Then he also uses the principle of scarcity, and this comes off as natural, because I'm going to talk about is how is he able to charge 50K for his one-on-one coaching. So rather than scaling horizontally, which is basically getting more and more and more clients, Nero chooses to scale vertically, which is make them worth more. So rather than working with more clients, he is making each one of his clients worth more. So initially his offer was 15K, then he moved to 20K, and now he's charging 50K simply because of the fact that he knows this is the amount of people that I can work with. Let's just increase the lifetime value of every single customer until I cannot take on more customers. And when he reaches that point, he will once again increase the price. And so this works wonderfully. And the reason for that is because, first of all, he doesn't degrade his offering/service by adding scalability and other coaches. This also leads to extremely high profit margins. So, the way to grow your coaching offer is either, if you're targeting more, consumer and you cannot increase your prices, is by getting more customers, right? Now, by getting more customers, you probably need to add more coaches and you need to add scalability. And because of that, people lose profit margins, as well as they dilute this offer, because at first they were the one directly working with people, and now they've literally put other people in charge. Nero does it that way. Instead, what he does is that he keep himself as the only person talking to his ICP, talking to his clients, and simply increase the prices. Then genuine scarcity, since he can only take a few clients, gives him the leverage of being extremely choosy. Third, extreme disqualification results in a leaner business where he doesn't need a sales team or a ton of employees. Another reason why he's able to make $450,000 with extremely high profit margins, because he doesn't need big sales team. He doesn't need a lot of closers and sellers, right? And don't get me wrong, this is something that really depends on your niche. and your offer. And sometimes you really do need good sales team, closers, sellers to actually scale. But in this case for Nero, he really doesn't need it, and that creates extremely high profit margins. Then rich clients is equal to better service delivery. Better service delivery leads to better case studies. Better case studies results in high perceived authority, and higher perceived authority results in richer clients. This is basically the entire business model. He's getting rich clients to work with him, so high value entrepreneurs, even athletes, and that means that he's working with people who know what they're doing, and so he automatically makes his service delivery better. And because his service delivery is better, he's able to get better case studies and results and testimonials, and that once again contributes to higher perceived authority. And when he's seen as a bigger authority, once again it attracts him richer clients. And the last thing, of course, is that he knows his ICPs inside out, which allows him to target his landing page copy towards them. So he has a lot of copy on his landing page as well, which is directly talking specifically to his ICP. So after that, when you scroll down, he has a ton of social proof. And once again, he uses a ton of social proof testimonials that does all the selling, so that he doesn't really need to do that selling in his actual VSL. And finally, he has this FAQ section, frequently asked questions. And you'll notice that he includes very specific kind of questions in here. So is this just another manifestation course? Does this actually work? How is this different? So what do I get? And the reason why I say that these are very specific kind of questions are because they are questions which he hears often from his ICB as objections. These are objections that keep coming up. This is pieces of information that his ICB needs before they actually buy. And rather than doing all of this on his 1 hour call, what is he doing is he is doing all the objection handling and providing all the educational stuff and information that his ICB needs beforehand. And FAQ section handles possible objection that they still might have, turns the actual call into more discovery / qualification rather than educating and objection handling. So now that he has made sure that his dream ICB is targeted, and he's targeting 50k offer and converts it, how exactly he's able to convert this broad targeted audience that 90% of his other audience that might not be qualified to actually work with him. So how does he maximize revenue? By utilizing 99% of the audience that is in the dream ICB with no offer on his part. So the way he does this is once again through profit maximization technique that I'm going to talk about. So when you can click on this CTA, yes, I want to 5x my result, it takes you to this type form. And when you start filling out this type form, you'll come to this one main qualifying question where he asks, what financial level have you been hovering at financially? And this is a qualifying question, which means that if you answer it in a certain bracket, he will take you to this, which is working with Nero is not free and requires 50k investment, right? If you basically answer less than 15k, he will take you to this. Hey, thanks for applying. After reviewing your application, the 101 program isn't the best fit for you. But don't worry, I've got a gift for you that fits you better. Now notice how he positions this, how he says this is a gift. But all he's doing is literally downselling them on a $995 course, as you can see over here, which is a direct checkout page. And the reason I was saying that it takes literally no effort on his part is because of the reason that this is literally a do-it-yourself course. He is not providing any support. He's not providing any, calls, nothing like that. It is literally a course, and he's selling a $995 course. But the way he's selling it is very interesting, because first of all, let us think about this, right? People who land on this landing page and see this offer are only people who are extremely high intent. They were they were applying to work with Nero on his 101 coaching offer, which is much more high ticket. And now that they're seeing this offer, $9.95, it's not really that much, and they're qualified beforehand. Then at the same time, you'll see that he presents it as a gift rather than a downsell. And what that does is that it plays into the principle of reciprocity. So what the principle of reciprocity says is that one good turn deserves another. So when somebody presents you a gift, you owe them something in return. You feel like you must return the favor back, and that is something that Nero is playing to, because he makes it seem like just because you weren't qualified to work with his one-on-one coaching offer and pay him $50,000 up front, he is doing you a favor by presenting a gift, only a $995 course that you can get right away. And it seems like he is doing you a favor, and you might as well return the favor by buying this offer. And so it is a very similar landing page. The only difference is that you'll notice how his messaging changes. So first of all, he's saying entrepreneurs stuck at a revenue ceiling, as well as he is saying access the proven knowledge to align yourself with the awakened entrepreneur, break through your revenue ceiling, and begin your journey. He's not talking about making your next million, but rather beginning your journey. As well as his VSL that now we are talking about is completely different as well. You'll notice that this VSL formula is totally different target market, and that's why VSL is more polished, it's more edited, it's more optimized for retention, and he's using animation. He's actually sells all three, so he's selling them, he's selling himself as well as the vehicle. So these are the three main things that you're selling when you're talking directly to consumers, which is them, that they can actually do it, himself as the authority, as well as the mechanism that he's selling, since there is no sales call. And it keeps the same authenticity and transparency approach at the same time. So he finds this good balance, but at the same time you'll notice that it's completely different from his high level VSL, where it was very, very raw, very authentic, very direct. This is very indirect, right? And has the same case studies, which eventually sends them to buy this $995 course. And because of this, you'll notice that his high ticket offer is his main offer. But through this, the last time I checked, because I don't have the exact data, but the last time I checked, he was able to generate 25 to 28% additional revenue just through this downsell, which is absolutely bonkers, because a large person of his audience doesn't qualify working with him directly. But if they do qualify, first of all, he lets them know beforehand that this is a $50,000 investment, as well as you will be able to split it. So by allowing them to split it, once again, he is maximizing his profit, because even his dream ICP, a lot of the people won't be qualified to pay him $50,000 directly. So he splits them in 2 to 3 payments and let them know it is a $50,000 investment. And if they're ready, he sends them to book a call with him. And of course, I don't want to waste your time, book a call with him and do all of that. I think it's unethical. So because of that, I'm guessing that after that, he will send them to a post-booking page, or he should send them to a post-booking page. Let's send them a lot of value and email sequence. So this is an example for one of my clients that I built for one of my clients. So this is a post-booking page, and this is the exact email after email value and email sequence that I set up for my client. And all this is basically doing is, first of all, confirming their call, and then the same FAQ section that Nero had on his landing page, we are basically answering all of that objections, handling all of those objections, answering any information that they need beforehand through this through these short videos, which are no longer than 5 minutes long, as well as we are telling them about the actual offer and the process. And these value dense email sequence are kind of the same, but they are in written format, and we are providing them with case studies, with relevant resources that they might need. And so this is something that, of course, I set for my clients. But yeah, that is exactly how Nero is able to build a $450,000 coaching offer with such a simple YouTube funnel and a conversion mechanism where he uses a lot of psychological technique, and a downsell that allows him to add an additional 25 to 28% rev share. if you're a coach, consultant, info product owners who wants to implement all of the things that I just talked about that Nero does very, very well, that I've used to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars for my clients, there is a link in the description. You can book your slot and we can talk about how I can potentially come into your business and do all of this completely done for you. As well as, if you are not qualified or simply you're not ready, just follow me on Instagram, leave me a DM. I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. But yeah, thanks for watching.